Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Buck Brief. First time on the program, but my old friend Robby Soave is in the mix here. Not to be confused with Rico Suave, a different one. Robby is the host of a phenomenal program, probably the best program, called Rising on the Hill, which maybe was originally hosted by yours truly. And Robby now has taken the torch and run so far and so fast with it and done an amazing job there. Robby, good to see you, man. Thanks for joining.
Thank you for having me on. Yeah, you crawled so I could walk. I just follow in your footsteps.
I'll take it, man. I'm glad to see that there's more places, more spaces for these kinds of conversations to be happening. Robby has a left-right conversation. Reft might be the merger of the two. Left-right conversation constantly up there on the Hill. So tell me this, man. Let's start with the Kamala as the czar who wasn't. Axios actually changed around their own reporting to remove that they themselves called her the border czar. Like, explain how this is supposed to work.
They would rather humiliate themselves and say that they were wrong than do anything that might make Kamala Harris less popular. I think that is a really flashing warning sign for how the media is going to handle Kamala Harris moving forward. And, we saw the media, we saw what they're like when they're critical. They were really critical of Biden for a couple of weeks. They put him on hard mode all of a sudden. It was like, oh my God, it's Trump-esque coverage. The way they've covered Trump, they're covering him. Now that that's over, it's right back to business as usual and then some. Yeah, Axios says that she was never the border czar. And we're like, wait a minute, I'm pretty sure I did read somewhere that she was the border czar. Let me pull this up. Oh, yeah, it was reported in Axios that she was the border czar. They said that. They used that phrasing. Whether it was official or not is immaterial. But they just totally – it's a kind of – we were always at war with East Asia sort of situation to try to shield her from criticism that she was supposed to be fixing the border, which everyone knows is a disaster.
Is there a part of you, as much as maybe as people who live in a republic where you want an informed citizenry cringe at this, is there any part of you, Robby, be honest, that gets excited at the notion of just how much the D.C. Democrat journos are going to debase themselves between now and the election to say anything to prove how great Kamala Harris is? Because I'm looking forward to it a little bit, be honest with you.
I look forward to pouncing. I'm sure you're pouncing as well. We're all pouncing out there. It's almost like a refreshing blast from the past. It feels like a little bit, they did this kind of for Hillary. This almost feels like going back to Obama or something, like just a level of worship that we're seeing, trying to manifest her. And now Obama was actually popular and had actual political talent. He was a, once in a lifetime effective public speaker who did have massive appeal to young people and to progressives. That was true. Kamala Harris, it has yet to be demonstrated that she has any appeal whatsoever to young people, to progressives, frankly, even to women and Black people, the identity groups that are supposed to like her. That's kind of being assumed of them without being demonstrated at all. It's kind of patronizing, honestly, to say that they'll just like her because she checks those boxes. It does her no good, honestly, the way they set her up, that now we have to have this debate over whether she's like a DEI hire. I'm like, I feel bad for her when Biden was forced to swear by the media that he would pick someone for identity-based reasons. So now she's going to have that criticism forever. And honestly, it was the media that put her in that situation. But yes, the fawning coverage is hearkening back to an era of the past, and I'm here for it.
I want to talk about disinformation in a second. I'm sure that there was a moment where they thought that they could call it disinformation when you say that Kamala's the border czar, but then they realized they would themselves be the purveyors of it. But a voice from the disinformation past has come back. What am I talking about? Robby's going to explain here in just a second. But our sponsor right now, Bear Creek Arsenal, phenomenal firearms maker based in North Carolina. I absolutely love their stuff. I've got a Bear Creek Arsenal Grizzly, which is their 9mm handgun. It a lot of ways feels a bit like a Glock, but it is more comfortable in the hands. I love that it has a little thumb plate that specifically has grip on it, so that when you make sure you merge your hands properly to get that good pistol grip going, it's going to feel great in your hands at the range or anytime you got to use it. So also got AR-15s from Bear Creek Arsenal. They're fantastic. They offer premium calibers at a fraction of the competition. If you're looking for value, best possible gun, best possible price, you cannot beat Bear Creek Arsenal. Go to bearcreekarsenal.com. Use promo code BUCK for 10% off your first order. That's bearcreekarsenal.com/Buck. Promo code BUCK for 10% off your first order. Exclusions apply. I called her Soviet Mary Poppins back in the day because Nina Jankowicz, the would-be disinformation czar of DHS, liked to sing. Why are we hearing about Nina Jankowicz again, Robbie? And whatever happened to disinformation experts?
Yeah, she's back in the mix. She has this new group she's running to track more disinformation, but I just noticed her being cited in the New York Times today in an article that was titled, I have it right here, Tackling the Falsehoods About Kamala Harris, about all the misinformation out there about her. You know, I think this term should be reserved for like actual false, like, yeah, if they, they I'm sure someone out there photoshopped her on Jeffrey Epstein's jet. Okay, yeah, that's actual disinformation. She was never on the jet. That's, that is fake. There's that. And then there's what this article goes through, which is saying saying that she slept her way to the top is misinformation and disinformation. And then they go and document how she dated what was his name, Willie Brown.
Willie Brown, yeah.
Senior official, and they write this in the New York Times that he helped her get, when she was starting out, to state paid positions. So you can disagree that it's fair to say she slept her way to the top. I think that's a harsh way to put it. How that gets framed can absolutely be debated, but it's not misinformation. Like, it's an opinion that she benefited from a possibly inappropriate relationship, right? That's not the same thing as saying it's false. It's not false. It's the facts are not in dispute. That's the kind of thing that these misinformation experts are always trying to pretend, we're just the umpire. We're just calling balls and strikes. We're just, we're not giving an opinion, but it's all against opinions they don't like. It's the weaponization of the referees against opinions that they think are bad.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like they need to watch The Big Lebowski and just remember, well, that's just like your opinion, man. Like, remember when the dude says that? Like, yeah, it is. It's just like their opinion. Disinformation is a leftist catchword for things I do not like that could harm my pursuit of power, right? Isn't that a fair definition in use of what disinformation is today?
Yes, and they tried to put this woman in charge of a government agency that was going to monitor disinformation. How dangerous is this? We've gone so far, what the Twitter files and all those things exposed went so far beyond what even I, as like a paranoid libertarian, thought was possible. I really didn't know that agency after agency in the government, the FBI, the CDC, and everyone in between, was constantly contacting social media companies and trying to get them to take down legitimate political contrarian speech. So then they were going to have a new agency under the Department of Homeland Security from this woman, Nina Jankowicz, is Soviet Mary Poppins, a very apt
you like
description.
That? Thank you.
Yeah, the sing-songy nature made it all the more terrifying. I can't quite explain why, but it did. And she, someone with no history of getting things right. If you want to say you're an expert in telling the truth from lies, I want to know that you've called out your own side, that you've gotten something right that kind of hurt the people you agree with. And the best example for people on that side to be able to have demonstrated some independence is like Russiagate, Hunter Biden laptop type stuff. And no, she, like everyone else on her side, said it was a fake Russian planted laptop and clung to that and cited all the intelligence officials who were wrong. So I'm like, well, maybe you just shouldn't be, it's fine. A lot of people got it wrong, whatever, but maybe you just don't get to be in charge of determining fact from truth from within the government because of that.
Robbie, RFK Jr. is still a candidate for president, as you and I sit here and talk. I'm wondering if when we come back in a second, you can tell me why that is. Like, what is the point? Because people in that middle space and libertarian space, and, so I'm going to need you to explain to me what you think is going on there. I'm curious. But first up, I partnered with the International Fellowship of Christians and Jews because in the aftermath of October 7th, we've all seen that Israel's under assault from its enemies, and the Israeli people are in a dire situation. They need help from their allies like us here in America. And ever since those Hamas terrorists did that horrific, barbarous attack on October 7th, the International Fellowship of Christians and Jews has been providing aid and assistance out there on the front lines, doing everything they can to support our brothers and sisters in Israel. Visit them online at ifcj.org. Again, the International Fellowship of Christians and Jews has received so much support from Christians like you listening to this program and Jews who live here in America. ifcj.org, support ifcj.org is where you want to go. Please donate and consider helping out today. All right, RFK Jr., what's the point? Like, what's he doing? Explain.
Well, look, he speaks to a lot of frustration with the two-party system and the candidates we had, that now it's actually different candidates than it was a few days ago. I think he got big because of COVID and the massive federal government overreach that took place under both administrations. I mean, this is what Trump is vulnerable on, even from voters who are very conservative, is, the idea that he put Fauci in charge of everything. And there has been an opening for RFK Jr. because of that. And look, he's given voice to a lot of very legitimate frustrations. There's a lot I disagree with him on, on some economic issues and regulation issues. He's a big government liberal. He's been a Democrat all his life. But on foreign policy, he's interesting. And, the two-party consensus on foreign policy has been very interventionist. And I've been a skeptic of it. And you've been a skeptic of aspects of it, too. And he's, I think, often saying what the America First base wishes its Republicans would say. So I totally get the phenomenon. Now, of course, it's impossible to actually win outside the two-party system, unfortunately. I do think honestly, I think it's a scandal that he was not in the debate. He gets like 10% support. That's pretty impressive for a third-party candidate. Is not going to win, and he's not. And it's funny to see the Democrats like so terrified of him, because the numbers show him taking support from both sides in pretty equal measure, and then also getting some support from people who are just not going to vote for one of the major candidates anyway. So, I'm a supporter of third-party perspectives. I'm not going to be a voter of his, but I am broadly happy with the issues he's calling to attention. And as of 4 days ago, he was the most youthful major candidate in the race. That's no longer quite true. But I think he should be in the debates. 10% is significant.
Look at that. A very eloquent defense of RFK's staying in it still. Robby knows these folks. Libertarians, let me ask you, do you consider yourself still a libertarian? I don't know if you do. Okay. Were you guys a little weak on the whole COVID thing? I don't remember. Like, where were my Reason magazine brothers laying down in the street to stop the mask mandates? Like, what happened, Robby? What happened?
People, you're not the first person to say that to me or to say that about Reason. I hear you, and I'm open to that we got it wrong, or there are things my colleagues said that I don't agree with. But I was like fighting with people in the streets over mask mandates. I got like thrown out of a gym and a restaurant. Like,
me too. Absolutely.
I would rather the mask mandate is the policy, my single most hated policy in my entire life from the government. I don't know. I hate it so much.
That's amazing.
And
I liked you before, Robby, but I love you now. That's amazing. I totally agree with you, by the way. Yeah.
And I will say, when Joe Biden declared a national federal vaccine mandate that impacted millions of workers, I was so known for being opposed to this. The New York Times called me and had me write the opinion piece from someone who is against the vaccine mandate, explaining why that was bad. So I think we were, I can only speak for myself. I think COVID tyranny is the greatest government overreach in my lifetime, must be opposed utterly. Maybe I was probably deluded at various times in thinking that people would go along with this, or I'm like, well, what's another 2 weeks? Because this has got to end, right? They can't actually do this forever. Now I understand that left to their own devices, they would absolutely lock us in our homes, force masks on our toddlers, and inject us with whatever they wanted for as long as they wanted forever. And I guess I'd be even more harshly against it from the beginning if it happened again. But the COVID tyranny is outrageous, and I'm still not over it, man.
Well, I'm just going to tell you, you really stuck the landing here, my friend. The judges are throwing tens up. The judges are throwing tens up in the air. Perfect. Perfect from Robby Soave. Where can people go to watch your excellent program, follow you on social? Want to give you a little shout out here.
For sure. You should watch Rising on YouTube. Go to the Hills YouTube page, and you can follow me on Twitter, X, whatever we call it these days, just my name, at Robby Soave. And you can read my work at Reason Magazine, reason.com. Thanks for having me on, Buck.
Yeah, man. Absolutely. Thank you.